next year. So if we do, we
Oh,
gotta meet up.
please do come to Puerto Rico. I'd love to have you come out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'd be great.
Yeah. I think we're live. So hey everybody, it's Marjorie, your favorite Marjorie Wildcraft of all the ones you know. Super thrilled today to have with me Eric Meter. And now normally I do these conversations with Eric's dad, Glenn, and Glenn and I go back a long time from the prepper festivals. And I got to tell a little story on you, Eric.
Sure.
So how old are you now? You're
I'm 26.
26, yeah. So, Glenn and I were actually just chatting this morning a little bit, and for the longest time, it's really tough, I think, to be a young person in this day and age. And Eric had always helped his dad with the webinars, but and so he's heard the webinars over and over again, but he never like really listened to them. And you were off doing your own thing and being what most young people are, slightly maybe I won't use all those adjectives.
Brainwashed. Yeah.
Right, brainwashed, obstinate, whatever. And then one time you actually did listen to the webinar as your dad was recording it, and the fun thing is Glenn said he thinks it was even one of the webinars that he was doing with me, which
Yeah,
doesn't really have a whole lot to do with anything, but said you really heard it, and then it changed your life.
definitely. Well, I think one of the things when you grow up with an entrepreneur as a father, worked with them since I was like 11, 12. There's a period where I kind of stepped away and I tried cooking. I love cooking, so I went to culinary school. I was a line cook.
Hmm.
Um, and I had to do that, and then eventually I came around, and I had to make the decision to work with him, and I'm really glad that I did. So I did listen to that webinar with you, and it really, it spoke to me, and I missed working with my father, and I kind of jumped in head first, and over time I really learned a lot about privacy, and I learned a lot about liberty, and it really has opened my eyes in ways I could never believe, actually.
Well, your relationship, I have to say, I'm a bit envious of. My kids are 24 and 26 right now, and my son is starting to come around. Like, hey, mom might actually know something, but my daughter is like, God help her. Anyway, but I really believe that. So anyway, seeing you and your dad work together so beautifully, and then the story of it, and uh, it gives me hope, right? It gives me hope.
Definitely.
But we
Yeah,
live
no.
in some pretty friggin' insane times. And I have to say, I have learned so much from the both of you. In fact, just before coming on, I was paying my electric bill and I was using one of the many different, there's a front way to use a credit card that they don't, it actually can't be tied back very easily to you.
Yep.
And I was just using that service to pay my electric bill. And I use that service a lot to pay a lot of things. That way, nobody can really tie me back to one credit card. And it's all legit. There's nothing illegal about this. It's just dispersing your footprint. So I use the techniques that I've learned from both of you, like day in, I have 150 email addresses. And again, it sounds like a lot, but you guys showed
Exactly.
me how I could have it all come into one central place, manage it very easily. And then that way, you know, um, nobody can, it's really hard to build a profile on me. Let's just say that.
Yeah. No, and people really get overwhelmed when they hear how much they have to do. That's why we try to break it down into bite-sized steps. But let me ask you, I mean, now that you know all of this stuff, do you feel like you can use the internet much easier? Because after I switched to Brave and there's no ads on there. I've got a password manager. Like you said, I create a burner card or an email address. It makes everything much cleaner. It makes it much easier. And I wonder if you feel the same way.
I feel the same way. I think that things are a little slicker if you're totally in the matrix, but I really
Yep.
prefer having some privacy, and there is something about a relief of not having that much surveillance. And you're right, it is little steps. Like, so we're doing a webinar together on Wednesday. I'm going to miss the first part of it because I've got a farm pickup, but I'm going to come and hit the tail end of it because Like every time I listen to the webinar, I learn something new and I implement some other small step. And people think, oh, privacy and all this surveillance, and avoiding the First of all, it is possible to really remove yourself from a lot of stuff. That's the first thing to know. And second of all, it's like little bitty steps all the time. Um, I loved one of the conversations that I had with your dad about there's so much scamming going on right now, and the
Oh yeah.
scams are getting so sophisticated with AI and everything, and they don't just like so if you put your stuff into Facebook, you basically have made it public, right? Facebook has been hacked, so like how every Facebook entry ever has been hacked, right?
Yeah.
And but it's not just Facebook. Like they get Facebook and they get Google and they get this and they get that, and they get all these scammers get these multiple sources, and then they build a personality profile on you, and then they develop some sort of scam to attack you with, and so that's why you're teaching how to disperse that, and
Yeah.
I like that. I really like that. It's going to be really hard. And I did get scammed one time, but it was my own. I entered into it. It wasn't because they found me and created something. But I do rest a lot easier. You know,
That's good.
you know.
Yeah, and it's good. What the analogy I use is like the way that people operate is so unsecure. So imagine if you're in a neighborhood and everyone has their door unlocked. That's just like free picking for someone that's going to go into the houses and steal things. And so if you take small steps, very small steps, like locking your door, they'd go up to your door, see it's locked, and they'd be like, okay, I'm just going to go to the next one because everything's free picking. So if you just do like the smallest security things, you'll put a huge roadblock unless you're like a public figure that has a high net worth because there is a common misconception about what a hacker or scammer is nowadays. It's not just some like geek guy sitting in his basement in his underwear. They're very advanced teams. I mean, North Korea's military has a huge hacking division, and they fund most of their military, and they target normal people. Like they target citizens, especially of the U.S. And then there's also huge crime syndicates that work together as like an organized mob, and they're extremely advanced. I mean, you get AI involved; it's just unbelievable what they can do nowadays.
I bet there's also still a bunch of these smaller scammers because I mean, how many people have been unemployed recently, and
Yep.
some of them are going to turn to whatever they think they can do. My nephew works in Miami-Dade for the court system, and he was talking about like in 2020, 2021. There was a huge people were getting slaughtered with the jobs and the businesses shutting down
Yep.
and everything. And he said what they were seeing was a huge uptick in people first time trying to decide to run drugs, and
Yep.
they were just arresting people right and left with these. And it was actually a scam set up of like, hey, if you want to make some money, do moving some coke around, and then, it was unbelievable what people were turning to, and yeah, so it's coming at us from all different directions. But I love the other analogy, like if you're with a group of people and there's a bear chasing you, you don't need to be the fastest person in the group. You just need to be faster than the slowest person.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
I
and if you look at most hacks and scams, I read a statistic that said 98% involve human like engineering, like social engineering. In other words, that means 98% could be prevented because that's the human error. So if you learn how to train yourself, learn what to look for, don't click on phishing links, that sort of thing, you can really protect yourself. And it's funny because people always say, "Oh, that'll never happen to me. I'll never lose my money." And it's it's sad. I try to warn people, with Glenn and I doing this, we get emails every week saying, "I lost everything. What can you do?" And there have been times where we've been able to help people, but most times it's just, there's nothing you can do. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
Yeah, I got scammed out of $10,000, and I will tell everybody how it was so that you'll avoid this. And again, it was my own fault. It wasn't like somebody was doing something and approaching me. I thought I was on a help desk on Discord for a digital product that I had purchased, and I'm on Discord. They said, here's our Discord chat, you can get help here. On the website it says this is our Discord channel, and I go to that Discord channel. I didn't realize that Discord channel was just loaded with scammers, and they said, yeah, we're the help desk, we can help you. And then you know you know and it was very interesting, the process they took me through. Like, I mean, I don't know why I kept staying with these guys. It was a couple of hours, and they kept giving me instructions to do this and that, and they kind of got me trained into the do the do this thing and not question. Yeah, and I ended up giving them the keys to one of my wallets, $10,000 of crypto.
Yeah.
And when I realized it, I said, hey, all my crypto's gone, all my crypto's gone. And I said, you guys are scammers. And they're like, no, 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 we're not. We're just here to help you. Da, 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 da. And I said, no, you are scammers. And then they gave me a GIF of, one of those little videos of an atomic bomb going off. And then the entire thread and their everything just disappeared. And I could never find them. I tried to
Yeah.
chase the wallet where the money had gone, and it just ended up going into like some exchange with thousands of transactions. You couldn't find it. And I was
Yeah,
like,
they're
damn.
evil. They're really evil people. I mean, people underestimate how evil they are, but they'll laugh at you. If they took their life savings, they would be laughing about it. I mean, they're completely heartless people. And another thing I'll say is once you do get scammed, you need to be extra careful because they target people. So like if you get scammed by a highly organized crime syndicate, they'll mark you, and they have these huge databases on the deep web where, for example, they say they've been scammed once or twice, and then there's like a susceptibility score. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the whole locked door analogy, where they're like, this house is always open, you can come there and take whatever you want. And so yeah, they're evil people.
Wow. Yeah. Or desperate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
desperate.
So, and there are a lot of really simple things that you can do. So I'm super happy and proud to say that we're hosting this interview on a Linux computer. I when Microsoft said October 14th they were going to stop supporting Windows 10, and you had to upgrade to Windows 11. And stop supporting Windows 10 just meant that they were no longer going to do any updates, and if there was any backdoor hacks going to get built, that somebody could find, they weren't going to fix it or whatever. So I mean, it's not like the end of the world, but it just means that this is a huge vector for problems. So you don't want to have a Windows 10 machine on the internet anymore. And I said, thank you, Microsoft, for giving me a deadline.
Yes.
Because I don't get stuff done unless there's a deadline. So all this year I had been prepping to move over to a Linux machine, and I've done it. And it's
That's great.
actually, for really, really basic stuff like email and surfing and the 90% of what you do all day, it's really, you guys have made it so easy. It's super easy to
Oh
do.
yeah, I
And
love it.
yeah,
For the longest time, Glenn and I didn't recommend it because Linux used to be just a tech geek software.
yeah.
Um, and we like giving solutions for average non-techie people. So we just couldn't. And then eventually we finally found one that was privacy oriented and also very easy to use. And it's just been a perfect fit.
I totally agree. I've watched Linux for years and I wanted to do it. I mean, way back in the day, I used to be on Unix, which was the precursor to Linux. But, I just didn't have, I'm teaching people to grow food. I'm doing experiments in my backyard. I'm running podcasts. I'm running a company. I just didn't have time to
For sure.
go down that hole. So when you guys did the work to find it, and I was like, yes, this is so good. Let me go back to Windows 14 because Windows 10 going to 11 again, because I don't know if people realize, we recently sent out an email with a headline of they're watching you. I said, Ruth, that was such a great headline. I opened it up like, what do you mean? She got me.
Yep.
Windows 11, it's like every minute or something, or every few
Every second.
seconds.
Yeah, every
Every
second is screenshotted, it's analyzed, and it's stored. So they're building a complete profile on you. It's gotten to the point where they don't even hide it anymore. They're using it as a marketing thing where they're like, "Oh yeah, we take a photo every second so we can help you." It's ridiculous. And it goes back to the whole point of why privacy is the biggest issue in the first place is they're trying to create systems that will surveil you and control you. Whenever there's a smart device, I always say it's got two elements. It's got the surveillance and then it's got the control element. So For example, let's look at a modern car with a computer in it. You look at a Tesla, that is one of the most powerful surveillance machines ever. I mean, I think they have sonar or something inside of it. Um, and
No more having sex in the back seat, huh?
Yep. But it's also computerized, and that means it's not like an old car with like a gas tank. It means it can be controlled. It can control how fast it goes. It can have a
Yeah.
limit on it, so it can't go outside of the city, or you can't drive at all if it's tied to your digital ID. So that's the whole point. Is they want to set you up in a system that's smart. It surveils you. It controls you. Um, and that way they can control you. Even our founding fathers understood why privacy is so important. It's the Fourth Amendment, and they knew that without privacy you can't have the First Amendment. Because look at what's going on in England right now. People are getting thrown in jail just for tweets, what they're saying. So no one will practice freedom of speech if they're going to get sent to jail for it, because they're not anonymous. You need anonymity to be able to practice freedom of speech. Because what if I say, I don't like the president? They're going to come and kill me then. So it's a very huge, important aspect to everything.
It's very real. I think a lot of people saw it with, I mean, the classic example is the Canadian truckers.
Yep.
If you contributed more than $50 to when the Canadian truckers were doing their big protest, they actually shut a lot of people out of their bank accounts. Um,
And I interviewed one of them last year, and he said his account was still frozen. I don't know if you've heard anything about this, but I think some
wow.
people still have their accounts frozen.
There's also in Vietnam recently, they
Yep.
shut down like 86 million. Do you have an update on 86 million bank accounts? Like people just no longer could
Yep.
access them. Yeah.
Yeah, so they released digital IDs in Vietnam, like what
Mhm.
Glenn and I have been talking about for years, all over. It's globally coordinated.
Mhm.
And in Vietnam, they shut down 86 million bank accounts of people who didn't accept the digital ID. And so think about that. I mean, 86 million bank accounts. I can't imagine. I mean, there's got to be some huge, huge disruptions in life. I think there's got to be a lot of people starving now, and it's just total tyranny. I mean, that has got to be like textbook tyranny, is just shutting people's bank accounts down. So uh,
Well, that's
that's scary, and they're going to do it in the West too.
they are. They are gonna do that. That's why I've been really encouraging, and I'm not the only one. Lots of us have been saying, "Hey, we need to build these alternate parallel systems." Our own food supplies, water, transportation, community networks, communication, and then also, all the things you teach of making yourself more private, you know,
Yep.
um, so you can have these communications or you can have these things and not be completely locked down in this. They're building it out, and it's almost like they're almost about to shut the gate. I mean, I think that would be the example of the shutting the gate in Vietnam. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I heard that.
Absolutely.
I saw a thing recently. So, look, one piece of backdrop is Bill Gates, Microsoft has patented the mark of the beast. And I kid you not, you can look, I couldn't believe it when I first heard this. So I went and did it. You can go to the World Patent website, patent number 2020060606 is a crypto ID type setup where, and they literally say it like, you'll be rewarded if you watch certain advertisements, if you do certain behaviors, and then they'll be, you if you don't do these behaviors or if you do behaviors they don't like, they take money away. You'll be able to shop with this thing like. And I saw recently, I'm like, oh my God, how, like, you're right, it's just becoming blatant. And then recently, they're talking about tattoos, digital tattoos that will replace your smartphone, and that's how you'll be like, you'll scan your tattoo to be
Wow.
able to buy stuff or something like
Would it
that.
be
I'm
like
like,
a
oh,
QR code, or is it something like in the ink? Do you know?
I don't know. It was just like announced like a couple of days ago. It's just insane. I
I know
believe
that.
them, I believe them. I mean, there's so much crazy shit going on. Like, what do we make out of Three Eye Atlas? I don't know, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's so, and there's like, oh gosh, you go on X, how much of that is artificially generated? How much of
Oh yeah.
anything on the internet is? So it's hard to tell what's true or not anymore. But I definitely believe those guys are working on that, and it's very likely possible, and that they're going to bring it forward. So, you know,
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, if you look at like what's going on in China, they use the iris recognition, so it's the eyeball. Um, like if you want to pay in China, usually you just have to look at it. You scan your eyes. It's crazy. I mean, it's really like a
wow,
horrific sci-fi, but they also gate parts of society. So they have like huge fences and you have to go through by looking having your irises scanned. And that will say, okay, does this person have a digital ID? Are they up to date on all their vaccines? Are they allowed to go here at this time? It's it's unbelievable actually.
wow, yeah, geofencing, I think they call it. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. Well, fortunately, we're not quite to that point yet, but we really
No.
do have to fight. And I was watching a Catherine Austin Fitts
Yep.
video
She's great.
yesterday that Jacqueline, thanks so much for sending that video along. And Catherine is like, we can fight this. Start paying in cash. She has a flip phone and a really old smartphone that she doesn't have any apps on. She's like, you don't need a smartphone. And she says that she was saying that there, and she had some articles. I didn't do all the research. She was saying that um, they're actually getting to where they can read your thoughts with a smartphone. She's like, why are you carrying the technology of the enemy around with you, right? She was also talking about credit cards. The whole credit card company is a part of this whole thing, and
Oh yeah.
every transaction they take a small amount of money out. And she said, in South Dakota, how much money there's a million people. How much money do you think the credit card companies are taking out of South Dakota, out of that local economy? She says it's $700 million a year. It's approximately $700 per person that they collect in credit card fees from people swiping and doing that whole thing. I'm like, that is so much money and so much energy and so much life force. We've really got to build these alternative. If we build these alternative systems, we'll be a lot healthier. We'll be a
Yeah.
lot stronger. Yeah. Do you?
What I always say is one of my favorite quotes is one from Leonardo da Vinci. Glenn likes it too, where it's there are those who see when they're shown, and those who will not see. And so, a lot of the people, like I'd say, anyone who is on our audience or has listened to this, I would classify people that see the whole picture. You know what I mean? They don't need much of a helping hand. They're very ahead of the curve. I think there is a huge percentage of people that will see when they're shown. And when you're talking about like the geofencing, you're not allowed into certain parts of the society because you need to scan your iris. Once they start seeing that, they're going to start understanding in more detail. Like in the UK, they're really pushing digital IDs hard. That's one of the top issues over there now. They understand it's going to be used for a social credit system. The awareness is there, unlike it is in America because of that. But then it comes down to the whole question of okay, what false flags are they going to do to get people to accept it?
Yeah, and then we also have this whole population replacement thing going on, and yeah,
Yeah,
there's so much going on. But we always do. I do not believe the universe would put us here to become parts of the Borg, and that there always are ways. That there always are ways to opt out or do an alternative. And I really really appreciate the information that you're bringing forward as a piece of that. Of how do you take your privacy to another level? How do you distance yourself as much as possible from big tech while still being able to? I mean, quite frankly, we paid for all of the stuff. They've been using taxpayer money or citizens' money
yep.
to fund all these different DARPA and all these different things. So, how can we actually access this technology and use it while not being completely entrapped, enslaved, and tracked? So I also really appreciate. I was like, oh no, Glenn. I know Glenn. Normally, we like having Glenn do these interviews because he's a little older and our community is a little older. And I'm like, but Eric's so cute. But but I just you really do break it down into step by step chunks that a lot of us who are like, I'm on my 10th operating system. I don't want to learn another one. I just don't want to spend a lot of time figuring something new out. Just show me the simple ABCs. And you and your dad do that really, really well. So,
Thank you very much.
yeah. What's on the menu for the webinar on Wednesday?
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing a whole breakdown of like everything that's going on. It's gonna be kind of a high level thing, and then we're gonna do some pinpoints, and then after that, we're gonna take you into some fast action solutions that you can take right away. And those are always great. I mean, Glenn and I try to build it in a way where we say what are solutions that people can watch and then right away do. We don't
Hmm.
want to do anything that's like, oh, this is a 10-hour project. No, this is going to be solutions that you can do right away, right after watching, and so you can see actual change. And I think that's really important when you get into a subject, is just doing the small steps first, because then you can build momentum into it.
You sure can, and I'm a testament to that, of just doing small steps constantly. Yeah, I will. Like I said, I'm going to catch. I love these webinars. I've watched it over and over again, and they do evolve and grow. So for some of you that might have seen it before, as we get new information and new techniques,
Yep.
and I really want to encourage everybody to attend the webinar, because it's really vital. We're at war. We are at war, and you are the one that's being attacked, right? And just because it's not some guy in fatigues with a gun, it's an information war. It's a digital war. It's a psyop war, and we have to fight it with different tools. And we really are at war, and it's us.
Yep.
They're trying to kill us off. Imagine that. And it's true. And again, I believe the universe, God, whatever faith or tradition that you work with, we came here, right? You came into this life knowing to some extent ahead of time that this was going to be what you were here for. And I believe it's your duty to fight this and do the best you can to make changes. And I'm really, really, really so appreciative of Glenn and Eric for bringing this part of the solutions that we need.
Thank you
So
for saying that. Yeah, that's really well said. I really believe Glennon does too. That we have a future where we might have more liberty than we've ever seen before. I'm actually really hopeful for the future. It's easy to look at everything and get really overwhelmed, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think people are going to put up with it. It's kind of what I said before. I just don't think a lot of people see it yet, and on many different levels, on the actual technology, on whatever. I don't think it's going to work, but it requires that you take action. I mean, it's not something that you have to sit back and let it work itself out. You have to do it yourself. But if you do it, you can ensure a legacy of liberty for your children better than we've ever seen. So do it out of love, basically, is what I'm saying. Do it out of love for liberty. Do it out of hope. Don't do it out of fear. Don't do it because you're afraid of the future. Because fear is the ultimate tool of power seekers, and love and inspiration is the most empowering tool, I guess.
yeah, and we can do this, and it's as I said, it's what we came here for. So I'll have a link. This is happening on Wednesday I believe it's 7 p.m. Central
Yep.
Time, and runs for a little hour and a half or so. And yeah, I really, really, really want to encourage you to do it. I've just gotten a tremendous amount of value out of. As I said, I've watched this webinar over and over again over the years, and always inching along, taking little steps and then looking back and go, oh wow, I got a lot of this stuff implemented. It's pretty. I never, if you'd asked me a year ago, would I be doing this? I'm like, no, I don't think I could do that, but here I am. So I'll have the link down below for people, and I'm getting this up. I'm going to get this up Monday on my Substack channel. If you're seeing this on any other of the other outlets where this gets rebroadcast, please go to the Substack channel to get the link. And Glenn and Eric are going to be on there talking about privacy and how you can take it back in very simple steps to do that. As apparently, and Eric says, we're going to have an update on the latest situation. Oh, good God. Thank you, Eric, so much for coming on, and
Thank
I'll see
you.
you on Wednesday night.
Yep. Thank you very much for having us. Or me.
Okay.
Me and Glenn.
All righty.